Jayce has never had a bag that he couldn't fumble. His friends may be rich, but they all got second jobs cleaning up his messes. Now this sounds like exaggeration, and it is, but it's crazy to think how Jayce hasn't made a situation better since he was 12. And when he does, it's unintentionally. Like, let's look at this. Hextech is becoming Cthulhu. He escalates civil strife. He ditched his dying best friend to hit, then put the same best friend in the grave after digging him out of it. Against his will, mind you. Jayce can't even let a man die right. Honestly, this is just comedy to me. So, for funsies, let's break down how everything in Arcane is Jayce's fault in the most unserious way as possible. As if we're looking at his resume, it is literally just follies and fuck-ups. Mine's getting picked by Mel, but hey, that's more her mistake than his achievement. So let's begin with God's first mistake. His birth. Jayce was the son of a minor house whose only claim to fame was being the crotch spawn of someone who invented the pocket wrench. This lack of originality turned out to be hereditary, as even Jayce's dream of magic was just him ripping off some wizard hobo. Now, I don't know how he and his mom ended up in the middle of a snowstorm on a mountain, but I'm sure it's his fault. Also, that hobo got his mom's digits, which isn't relevant, but I think it should be. Growing up to be the poorest rich kid on the block, Jayce McBlansom grew up to join the academy, where he managed to subvert our expectations by not failing upwards like usual. Instead, he actually did good at his studies, with this getting him the patronage of some old money who didn't know better. Befriending their teen daughter Caitlin, this would be the beginning of a lifelong, forgettable friendship, as they would immediately just start prioritizing other people. Now, by most of Piltover standards, Jayce has made it. He passed his classes, was doing science, but that wasn't enough for him. So instead, Jayce decided the best use of his first sugar mama's money was to buy illegal shit from the lanes, where naturally he got ripped off by a child, which is only proving Jayce's failboy status. Here's the key though, all jaw, no head over here just hasn't gotten the opportunity to really just do any noticeable screw-ups. School is just learning on rails, meaning this train wreck needed just one unsupervised day to ruin everything. With his inability to hide coming from money being the first sign of his genius, as, while this was nothing special to him, he still managed to get some people killed over it. How did Jayce think he could change the world when he couldn't even childproof a box? Like, even I feel embarrassed for him, and I just made this video to be a hater. But yeah, he got robbed by children, locked so weak some girl with pink hair was able to break through him. Like, goddamn, at this point he really does deserve to get robbed. Seriously, steal his shit. He didn't pay for most of it anyway, so it's barely even his property. Hell, he probably doesn't even pay rent.
I'm gonna steal everything that's not nailed down!
Then just when you think you couldn't respect Jayce any less, a child locks him out of his own house, with the only thing between him and his dreams being 2 inches of plywood and a chair. And the chair is winning. Never mind, it won. Knocked flat on his ass and remembering his own origin story, the narcissist wakes up to the police looking through the wreckage, with it taking 2 minutes of quiet disapproval to agree on sending him to jail. But Jayce can't even get that right, as he, just like his crimes, are too rich and soft for real jail. So he gets stuffed into the academy basement, where a troll doll tries to do him a solid. You see, Furry Einstein comes in and tries to just give him the strat. He's telling Jayce how to keep himself out of prison, and all he needs to do is say the things. Now, mind you, this is first-degree favoritism. This hairball is the fucking judge. He's literally telling Jayce exactly what he needs to say, and he'll let him off with a slap on the wrist. Maybe some community service and some half-assed apologies. Never have I seen witness tampering this effective, as the law has just given him a get-out-of-jail-free card. But the only thing Jayce needs to do is to stick to the script and say magic bad. Might be. But he can't even do that.
I was trying to create magic.
Now, to be fair to Jayce, the Council of Nepotism was grilling him for all 2 of his life choices. The future woman hitter's mother tried to vouch for his character, but then he just had to start running his mouth about being right. So the Funko Pop has no choice but to throw the book at him. And after all the limbs he went out on, I can't really blame him as he basically has none. So seeing her son dropping the ball that got gift wrapped to him, she steps up to the plate and saves his ass, pleading insanity, and after everything that's happened, that isn't much of a stretch. Forced to head back home with nothing to show for it but mistakes and no license to do science, Jayce decides in his lowest moment to go talk to the rich people, only for his child best friend to tell him that they can't hang out anymore. So he decides to kill himself.
Am I interrupting?
However, before he can commit to testing if airheads can float, a Victorian twink walks out of the shadows to pick his brain before street sweeping has to. Viktor, on account of saving Jayce's life, is immediately promoted to being the love interest. Flat out, the historian love doesn't matter anything else Jayce does. But then that affection becomes basically canon when Viktor helps Jayce live like the true male power fantasy, as Viktor tells him that he had a good idea. They then enable each other into a crime, breaking into the principal's office where they are caught immediately by Mel, who decides to let this just play out. As if they succeed, she'll be rich, and if they don't, she doesn't own the building. So thanks to Viktor's genius and Jayce copying someone else's work, the two are able to invent hextech, magic controlled by science. This was everything he ever dreamed of, and everyone was about to be the worse for it, as he's flying high, but everyone else who has touched his work ended up in a body bag, prison, or in a codependent relationship. Dude's non-childlock crystals sent children to the morgue, caused a political crisis, and helped a kingpin come to power. But like, you know, good for him figuring out how to put lightning in a bottle. Then all he ended up doing with it was to make rich people richer.
Okay.
Alright, cut forward to a few years and the baby adult is somehow the golden child of the city. His less conventionally attractive partner might as well be locked in the basement cause he is unloved, leaving Jayce to take up all the marketing space, getting hailed as the man of tomorrow, which is funny since he can't even plan for today. Jayce, in his infinite generosity, has finally decided that Viktor's people have waited long enough for the trickle down, well, at least the kind that isn't pollution. And unfortunately, Jayce is kind of rubbing off on Viktor, as with all the power of hextech, the best they're able to come up with is just ways to make people's bosses more money.
Mining colonies in the fissures can work faster and without fatigue.
You hear that? Jayce supports colonialism. Figures. But Dr. Safety isn't convinced by their demo. See, he's playing the long game, he's not into that instant gratification. He thinks everyone needs to sit down, check their I's and T's. Meanwhile, he is praying for these fuckers to blow themselves up in the next 20 years so he can just shut all of this down. But Jayce isn't a child anymore. Bro started out 24 and now he is pushing 30. He's got brand deals and pretty privilege. So he's not just gonna fold, but he will be a bitch and ask his new sugar mama to make this go away.
It's your speech. Give the people a glimpse of the future.
Crazy that 20 seconds in 0G caused Jayce's spine to evaporate. Ghana's man who talked back against the council, now Jayce is just fully in his fail girl era. He's the belle of a ball who can't say no to a goddamn thing. If someone talks to Jayce, he agrees. If not immediately, he'll do it later. Going from Mel hyping him up to telling Viktor that they're gonna do the thing, only for him to leave his duke hanging by caving to peer pressure from one guy. So, just to be clear, Jayce has left everyone disappointed, but he's also put his hextech for the people on hold because they may be dying, but he doesn't know about it. Jayce then manages to do the impossible by failing even higher, with Mel promoting him to the council, trusting him with the responsibility of keeping the city safe. Though personally, I wouldn't trust this man with a potato gun, and history would prove me right. So first day on the job, Jayce is doing his best, which isn't good enough. He's handing out jobs to all of his friends, all one of them, and pissing off everyone else. His attempts to enforce the law is making it harder for all of his co-workers to break it, making waves when people just want calm. But then Mel shows up to show him just how things are really done and who he's really working for.
Fuck the clients.
Mel gives him Corruption 101. He is shaking hands, making exceptions. He is greasing the wheels and making promises he won't keep, and holy shit, that's why he's gonna be so good at this. But Jayce, he does make it work. He's decent. He is yes-manning a bunch of idiots, but he does it with a smile. So Mel sleeps with him.
Oh, they fucking.
Now I almost want to give him credit for this, but while he got it up, something else fell down. Jayce proceeds to hit it and seemingly quit it, and he just dips out into the night. Honestly, I have no notes, but something really funny to point out. Either Jayce stepped out of the room and someone told him what had happened, or someone came into the room and whispered into his ear that his other partner was dying. Personally, I'd like to think his spidey sense was tingling and he ran out to see who he had just disappointed. Having to then be the one to tell Viktor he doesn't have much time left, Viktor leaves to go brood, with Jayce heading back to his new situationship to cry into her lap, with her taking the reality of the situation more gracefully than me, but even she's just Jayce wondering like, why are you here? Your friend is dying. They had sex one time and he's already this clingy. So she returns to sender. Jayce is back on the grind, emotional support, as he's got no idea what to do. So he calls their science dad to come help them out. He tells them to let Viktor die and to destroy this witchcraft. With it being here that Jayce remembers what his job is, blindsiding everyone by suggesting they should retire the furry, with everyone deciding to follow Mel's lead as they trust her and she's gonna double down on a bad decision. Her doubts are immediately validated when Jayce decides to make things worse by ordering a blockade of the undercity, because why be reasonable when you can escalate, and why not let Vi and Kaylin just walk across a bridge when no, you can have the police stop them, leading to an attack, leading to everything else that happens, like Jinx getting full of what is basically coke. This is actually especially shit timing for Viktor, as he just gone home to visit an old mentor, and he needs Jayce to physically walk to the bridge to let him back into the city. Jayce is pissed about this, venting about, oh, this makes him look bad, that his partner was on the wrong side of the tracks when A, he was born there, B, Jayce, your classism is showing, C, the man is dying, how are you making this about you? This little incident also spits in the face of everything Viktor has done to try and hype this guy up to his old, well, Dr. Mengele. Saying, yeah, Jayce would understand, only for him to then immediately be a dick. So Vic decides to hide the drugs and experiment on himself in secret, with this lack of oversight meaning that nobody knew what was going on, so nobody knew to not touch him. Sky gets renamed to Ash, cops are now bodies, and now he's trapped with his future in-law.
You have the passion of youth. I have experience. I want you to succeed here, Jayce.
Honestly, this would not be the worst thing in the world for me, but the baddest bitch in the city has come to give him advice, and he refuses. Then she gets out of the tub, and he immediately changes his mind, later arguing that they need to fight back, only for Mel to have to tell him, we won't be doing that, and that's the end of it, as it should. Till sadly, the two dumbest people in the room end up alone together. So Jayce kills a kid, breaks his promise to a dying man to not turn hextech into weapons, only to arm himself and then use them to attack a crime lord. Things got crazy, music was blasting, just like he was, hence one less ginger. So then he dips after this. Deciding he's a lover, not a fighter, Jayce leaves the undercity while also leaving Vi with the gauntlets, as while he may not be down to kill people, or see his technology kill people, he's also not going to fight to make sure that his technology doesn't kill people. Deciding to walk off this L amongst many others, he ends up running to his twink, who's about to also go for a walk. So Jayce ends up paying Viktor back for that one time when they first met. So they just have a talk where the two end up summing up Jayce's life in one line.
At least you didn't throw up.
Naturally, Jayce decides, okay, violence isn't the answer, I'm gonna go surrender, giving Silco pretty much everything he wanted, though he promises this is more about him being afraid of what his tech will do to them than what the undercity could possibly do to Piltover. See, he's not giving up, he is protecting them from himself, which honestly fair. He calls a late night council meeting, tells everyone he's quitting and that he's already made peace with the enemy. This is a massive decision, no one likes it, but it takes one rocket across the river amount of time for them to decide to, okay, we'll agree to this. And then most of them die.
That's rough, buddy.
So the mom, the idiot, and the weird one are not with us. The Nepo baby unfortunately lived. Jayce miraculously survived without a scratch, with the general consensus being Mel is magic. Because why not? Also, Viktor is dying. More than usual. Now mind you, Jayce has already promised Viktor that he'll destroy this MacGuffin, so naturally he says fuck that and uses it to bring Viktor back from the dead, saving his life but turning him into a cyborg. This was never gonna be a good thing, but honestly it gets worse as that thing is clearly evil and a conduit to something called wild magic, or as gamers call it, the void. So now whatever fucked up shit Viktor does is gonna be on Jayce's head. They maybe could have talked this out, used this a little more constructively, or kept Viktor here just long enough to realize that something's not right. But after the mother of the child he killed attacked the city, the dummy duo missed their shot, and people started panicking again, Jayce decides that the lessons he learned about using his weapons on poor people didn't matter. So he makes a new set for a hit squad to surgically leak gas into the undercity to find Jinx, with Viktor waking up to see Jayce's notes, confirming to him that this isn't gonna work out. As if the embargo, classism, and cheating weren't bad enough, this is the final straw. It's also really funny to realize that Viktor probably didn't even know about the hammer and the Zon rays, but still, just seeing the plans is enough to make him dip.
Our paths diverged long ago. It was affection that held us together.
And he handles a breakup as well as anyone could expect, turning to religion. So, burnt out and letting his girlfriend take care of everything else, Jayce has about 5 minutes of peace and not shitting the bed. Then his old boss breaks into his place to give him another shot at ruining things, revealing that magic has leaked out into the world. Let's then find out that Jayce put the reactor that powers hextech underground, and as Echo points out, next to all the pipes that supply Zon with its air and water. This is not good. Again, not thinking of the other people in the world. I just want to point out, Heimerdinger must have had to sign off on this, so he's not totally in the clear for this either. Also, the clean, renewable energy Jayce has built, turns out, time bomb waiting to happen. Which makes it low-key insane that Shimmer has less globally negative consequences than hextech. Like, truly, this dude couldn't do nothing without making it everyone else's problem, but this also means another thing.
You should have accepted that I was right!
So the Wild Rune starts freaking out, the boys start tripping balls, with Jayce having the brilliant idea to just hit the thing, teleporting them to Soul knows where, though I'm guessing the future, because Echo's powers in game are time travel, and Jayce's title of the Defender of Tomorrow, that could easily be spun into a he came back from the future twist, where he saw the world infected by the Wild Rune, with it having been unknowingly spread by Viktor. But that's also his fault, so again, fuck him. Eventually coming back into the world more ragged and honestly he's finally hot now, Jayce proceeds to kill the appeal by killing his ex, who he just leaves to bleed out after taking a page from Thor's playbook and not going for the head. And I'm sure he just ran off to go ruin someone else's life, as he has destroyed this community of what I'm just gonna assume is robots, given that Sallow didn't breathe fog when they were talking. But more importantly, Vander went insane again, and oh look, another child.
What you say?
I love how Jayce and Jinx have the highest body counts in the series, and they both have canonically killed 2 minors and Vander. Like, that's never trusted Jay in the series, just flat out. Now this is gonna come out before Act 3, and I'm pretty sure Jayce had a good reason for doing what he did, like he always does. But I'm sure that he did it in a way that's gonna end up making everything worse for everyone, as he really just saw Viktor corrupt everything and said, okay, I'm just gonna leave the body, and Singe is gonna thank him tons for that. So whatever nightmare gets unleashed on the world, it's gonna be Jayce's fault, and no one will be surprised, as this man's actions has literally never worked out for anyone, other than debatably Viktor. But given what might happen, that'll probably turn out to be a mistake and one he's gonna have to correct again.